Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are undertaking a massive deep dive analysis into a philosophy that fundamentally rewrites the rulebook on startups and innovation, Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. Look, if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, or honestly, just someone looking to create massive value in the world, consider this your direct mentorship session. We are going to strip away the conventional wisdom you've been taught, and we're going to look at the actual nuts and bolts architecture of building something truly groundbreaking.
Okay, let's dive into this. Can we predict the future, or do we create it? It's so incredibly easy to fall into the trap of thinking progress is just this automatic force, something that just rolls forward whether we do anything or not. But that is completely backwards. We literally cannot sit back and just wait for the future to happen. To truly move forward, we have to actively imagine the world we want to live in and then take the incredibly difficult steps to create it from absolute scratch.
So, to help us get there, we've got a structured roadmap for today. First, what is 0 to 1? Then, why monopolies drive innovation, the illusion of competition, mindsets, secrets, and rules, building the startup foundation, and finally, mastering sales and distribution.
All right, kicking things off with section 1. What exactly is 0 to 1?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast between two completely different types of progress. First, you have horizontal progress, going from 1 to n. This is simply copying things that already work. Think of it like taking a typewriter and just building 100 more of them. Sure, it drives globalization, but it doesn't create anything fundamentally new. But then you have vertical progress, going from 0 to 1. This is imagining something entirely unprecedented. It's not building more typewriters, it's inventing the word processor. It's an incredibly hard leap because you're doing something that has literally never been imagined before.
And when we talk about that huge 0 to 1 leap, we use the word technology. But hold on, technology is not just computers, silicon chips, and wires. Technology is simply any new and fundamentally better way of doing things. It's all about unlocking totally new potential in absolutely any field.
Moving right along to section 2, why monopolies drive innovation.
And this brilliantly illustrates why the traditional business world is kind of wrong to hate monopolies. A highly competitive business is trapped in this brutal daily fight for survival. They are constantly slashing prices just to stay afloat, with their profit margins getting entirely destroyed by copycats. But a monopoly, because it has successfully escaped that daily grind of survival, it can actually afford to care about society. It can focus heavy on long-term research and development and true future innovation. Monopolies enjoy high margins, and they hold the status of a unique creator, rather than just being another replaceable player in a super crowded market.
So how do you actually build one? Honestly, building a monopoly is like setting up a flawless endgame in chess. You need these 4 specific pillars. First, proprietary technology. Your product must be at least 10 times better than the closest alternative, so it just can't be easily replicated. Second, network effects. This is where the product becomes more and more valuable as more people use it. Think of a social network. Third, economies of scale, meaning it actually gets cheaper to run your business as it grows massively. And finally, a strong brand that gives you an utterly unique, undeniable identity in the market.
Which brings us to section 3, the illusion of competition.
If building a monopoly is the holy grail, why do so many really smart founders completely fail to do it? Well, it's because they fall into a very specific psychological trap. They get obsessed with beating their competition instead of escaping it altogether. To wrap our heads around this, let's look at 2 totally different views on human conflict. Karl Marx believed people fight because their goals and circumstances are entirely different, like a fundamental clash between classes. But Shakespeare had a completely different take. In Shakespeare's world, people fight because they are exactly alike, and ultimately, they are fighting over nothing. They just mirror each other. And you know what? The modern business world operates almost exactly like Shakespeare's view. Companies become identical by obsessing over their rivals, and it absolutely blinds them to real innovation.
Just take the 1990s pet store wars. Companies like Pets.com literally fought to the death. The competition was incredibly fierce, but they were so intensely focused on destroying each other that they completely lost sight of creating real value for the end user. So, the crucial point is they poured all their capital into outmarketing their literal clones, crashed the entire market, and absolutely incinerated massive amounts of investor money. Competing in a crowded room usually just means everybody goes broke.
Let's shift gears a bit to section 4, mindsets, secrets, and rules. You've probably heard of the 80-20 rule, right? Well, in the startup world, this manifests as the brutal power law. Venture capitalists know this harsh truth. The vast majority of startups will fail.
The returns are just not evenly distributed. Because of the exponential growth of a true monopoly, possessing just 0.01% equity in a massive winner like Google is vastly superior to owning 100% of your own struggling, mediocre startup. You absolutely have to aim for the exponential outliers.
And achieving that kind of wild success requires a specific mindset: definite optimism. An indefinite optimist, they just hope things will magically get better. They treat success like a literal lottery ticket. They invest broadly and cross their fingers. A definite optimist, however, knows for a fact that success is not a lottery. They believe the future will be better because they have a solid, actionable plan to actively design and build it. They don't wait for luck, they execute.
But what are they actually building? They are building on secrets. There are basically two types of secrets left in the world. First, secrets of nature, the undiscovered physics and science of the physical world. And second, secrets of people, the truths that people actively hide from others, or maybe don't even realize about themselves. Truly great companies are built on these hidden truths. If you walk around believing there are no secrets left to find, you'll never even try. You have to challenge yourself to look exactly where no one else is looking.
All right, moving to Section 5, Building the Startup Foundation. Choosing a co-founder is like a marriage. This is so true. When you start a company, your earliest decisions are by far your most critical, because foundational mistakes simply cannot be fixed easily later on. If there is a fundamental misalignment between founders on day one, trust me, the intense, crushing pressure of the startup journey will eventually tear that company apart. The exact same strict structure applies to your board of directors. The magic number here? 3 to 5. If your board gets too large, you invite paralyzing conflicts and endless, useless debates. A small, tight board of 3 to 5 people keeps decision-making sharp, agile, and totally aligned with the company's ultimate mission. And that intense alignment, it has to flow all the way down to your employees, creating what is known as a mafia culture. The famous PayPal mafia didn't become a legendary network of founders just because they had nice office perks. No, they were united by a unique, almost obsessive mission to solve a really important problem. When you hire, you shouldn't be competing on free lunches and ping pong tables. You should hire people who are a unique fit for your specific, world-changing problem. That is exactly how you build deep, unbreakable loyalty.
And finally, Section 6, Mastering Sales and Distribution.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because you absolutely have to understand the fundamental math of business survival. CLV is your customer lifetime value. That's the total profit you'll make from a customer over their lifetime. CAC is your customer acquisition cost, what you actually spend on marketing, ads, and sales to get them in the door. The math is brutal but simple. Your CLV must vastly outpace your CAC. If it costs you more to acquire a customer than they will ever pay you, your business will die, period. Doesn't matter how amazing the technology is. And as you scale those operations, you will inevitably deal with automation. Now, a lot of people fear that machines will simply replace humans, but look at how PayPal solved their massive fraud problem. Step 1, they used complex algorithms to rapidly sift through data and flag potential fraud, something humans are way too slow to do. Step 2, human operators used their nuanced judgment to review those specific flags, something computers are honestly terrible at. They don't compete, they combine to create an absolutely unstoppable system.
Okay, we've covered incredible ground today. Let's summarize the blueprint. To go from 0 to 1, you must hunt for those hidden secrets that no one else sees. Prioritize building a monopoly with 10x better tech rather than fighting identical rivals. Build a rock-solid human foundation with the right founders and a tight board. And finally, master your distribution channel so the world actually gets to see what you've built.
Which leaves us with one final essential thought. You now have the framework. You know that you shouldn't just copy what already exists out there. You know you need to find a truth that others are actively ignoring. So I want to leave you with this question to ponder. What is your secret? What unique insight do you hold that will take the world from 0 to 1? Don't wait for the future to happen. Go out and build it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.